Next, I chop it up with Tommy Thomsen. Born and raised in Sonoma, parents were born and raised in Sonoma as well. He's played everywhere, all around the world. He's been inducted into 3 different Western Swing Halls of Fame, nominated into the Cowtown Society Western Hall of Fame, and he owns the Church of Western Swing in Turkey, Texas. We're going to talk about Sonoma, growing up in Sonoma, playing music, Bunny's Country Kitchen, Junie's Little Nashville, and a couple other spots in and around Sonoma in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Check it out.
So I gotta ask what? 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 So I gotta ask what?
I'm Joshua Farrell, and this is So I Gotta Ask.
Good.
I'm glad we got to connect. Well, you're up in Santa Rosa today?
Well, I'm right now. I just ate breakfast in Glen Ellen.
Oh, nice. Where's your breakfast?
I'm a musician. I don't get up till 11. I eat breakfast at noon, you know. So if you go toward the highway from Glen Ellen, around by the fire department,
Yep.
there's a new little pullout that they have, and it's room enough for 2 cars, and there's one little picnic table right on the creek. And you're just looking at this little tributary creek that goes into Sonoma Creek. A lot of rocks, and there's a couple signs on here what wildlife to look for. It's a little Glen Ellen little secret hideaway here I've discovered, you know.
All right. I dig it.
So I'm just laying back here making phone calls, and you're one of the guys I call.
When I was talking to Shavoya, he's like, well, you have to talk to Tommy. And
Well, I'm the guy because I was born and raised there. My family's been there over 100 years.
oh, man. All right. Well, great.
And my mother was a boogie-woogie piano player,
and
amateur.
wow.
Her nickname was Big Red.
All right. And did she grow up in Sonoma as well, or did they move to Sonoma?
Yeah, she grew up in Sonoma, too, and my dad was born in Sonoma.
Oh, my gosh. All right. Well, you are, that's why.
He was born in Sonoma in 24, and I was born in Sonoma in 48.
Okay. And your mom played music, and then did your dad play music too?
No, he didn't play at all. He was the bartender.
All right. And where was he
It
a
was,
bartender
Big
at?
Red and Fred. Big Red and Fred, and he had a portable bar, you know.
It's great. My parents had the suitcase.
There was, the town had, there was probably, when I was in high school, probably a half a dozen bands in the entire county.
Wow.
Like there was a couple bands in Santa Rosa, a band in Petaluma, and then there's a couple bands here in Sonoma, and I had the Headsman. And we started that in 62 to 66. And we did Jimmy Reed, Chuck Berry, and that kind of Texas blues, you know.
And were you the one that went out and found was your group of friends that you grew up with, or other guys that you found at the school?
My buddy Don Martini and I were in pre-algebra in Bob Bergman's pre-algebra class in Sonoma High School as freshmen, and we came up with the idea of getting a band. And so our other friend Rod Smith, I had taken piano lessons from his mother for about 8 years, Donna Smith.
Oh, all right.
Rod played saxophone. And so we put this band together, just the 3 of us, and then we got another guy, John Headley, to play rhythm guitar. And then we hired a singer, Jim Boyle, and we hired another singer, a black kid from Santa Rosa named Courtney Holiday. And in the 60s, we did kind of like Righteous Brothers kind of a thing, you know.
All right.
And in the 60s, if you had a black guy in your band, it could be trouble.
Okay.
You know? And we had a manager, a road manager, and sort of guy who looked out for us, Hudson Arberlin, a big husky, stout guy, and took care of us, and so we could play in peace, you know. And then that developed into, you know, there was some guys in Sonoma. There was Paul Marcucci, who had Paul's Resort.
Where Paul's Field is.
Yeah,
Or
Paul's
was.
Field.
Yeah.
That guy was a fantastic musician, and he produced hits down in L.A., and he used to produce Clarette Clementino, which was a California-like, rock and roll singer of the 50s. And he would hire Glenn Campbell as his guitar player,
And was he this guy? He was a pretty good musician himself.
He was a fantastic jazz piano player, and he ended up having his club and having a radio show out of there, so he didn't have to go on the road anymore, And I hired him. I have some recordings with Paul and I playing like Sweet Georgia Brown and some older things like that. And Paul passed, and I got interested in bluegrass music, in about 1970, and started playing bluegrass, but then also played acoustic sort of jug band kind of stuff. And that morphed into, found an interest in Bob Wills and the Texas Playboys early on. And I followed that I've been following that for almost 50 years now.
Wow.
And I've been inducted into 3 Western Swing Halls of Fame. 95, I was in Sacramento Western Swing Hall of Fame. In 2004, I got into the Seattle Western Swing Hall of Fame. 2007, I got into the Tulsa, Oklahoma Western Swing Hall of Southwest Western Swing Hall of Fame. And then I was just nominated a couple years ago into the Cowtown Society of Western Swing Hall of Fame, which is in Fort Worth, Texas. And I made an album tribute to Leon Roush, who was one of the main singers of the Texas Playboys in 2019. And I won a Will Rogers Award from the Academy of Western Artists. And
Wow.
that album's it's the best thing I've ever done. And just got a call yesterday that the Cowtown Society Western Swing has named that album the album of the year. So
congratulations.
Yeah, I'll get another award down there on May 6th. They have the award ceremony, and my gig is the last weekend in April at the Church of Western Swing. I've been going to Turkey, Texas for 40 years. And last year was the 50th year of the Bob Wills celebration in Turkey, Texas. And the town is only a town of 500 people, but it's the town that Bob Wills grew up in. So everyone has a vested interest in promoting Bob Wills.
Yeah.
Because the town goes from 500 to easily 5,000 to 10,000.
Wow, that's that big
for
of
a weekend.
Okay.
Yeah, they come in and there's thousands of people around, and so there was a place called the Church of Western Swing, which is used to be a church, and it was abandoned, and then it was repurchased and turned into a dance hall. And this fellow Henry Baker had it for 15 years, and it was the outside's very plain, and the inside is just covered with Christmas lights and memorabilia from Bob Wills' Texas Playboys. Many of them who have played there at the church. And then Henry died of a heart attack in 2018, and I purchased the church, and I started a 501c3 nonprofit, the Church of Western Swing.
And this is all in Turkey, Texas. Well, that sounds pretty fun.
Yeah.
Now I got to ask you. So you said your buddy's mom taught you piano for 8 or 9 years. Did you start because your mom was a piano player? Did you start taking piano early on? How old were you?
Yeah, I got her boogie woogie style, but I needed to play it a little bit as a beginner so that I could accomplish that. you know.
And when your parents were growing up in Sonoma, was there a music scene that they were like? Where were they playing in Sonoma?
Yeah, well, it was mostly house parties.
Okay.
Yeah, the bars really didn't have the Moose Lodge had bands come in and stuff. You know, Blackjack Wayne and the Roving Gamblers had come to town, play at the Moose Lodge or something, or the Vets Building or something. You know, and we've been playing the Sonoma Vets Building since '62. You know.
And would you also, when you were playing with your band, were you playing high school dances around the county, or what was?
We played every high school dance for about 3 years. That for basketball games and football games. The dance after the game, the home games, was at the Vets Building, and we were, featured.
Okay, and then you would play in other towns outside of Sonoma as well?
Yeah, played Petaluma and Santa Rosa and anywhere we could get a booking, We had a car we'd all fit in a little, Valiant, Plymouth Valiant. And
squeeze in, a little clown car, and then head to the gig.
Take off and, So, it was... there was a place we used to rehearse in Kenwood, the Kenwood Depot, the old train depot.
Yep.
And on Warm Springs Road there. And my friend's dad was a bartender at Bunny's Country Kitchen at the time, which was one of our first public gigs was Bunny's Country Kitchen.
Where was Bunny's Country Kitchen located?
It's right where right in the middle. When you come into Kenwood,
yep.
That restaurant on the left-hand side, if you're coming from Sonoma.
Just kind of just over the hill, just as you go over the
first restaurant on the left as you're coming into town.
Yeah.
And it's called Salt and Stone now, but that used to be Bunny's Country Kitchen, the famous fried chicken place. And people would come from all over to eat fried chicken at Bunny's Country Kitchen. And we had our little band, and we had little, black pants, white shirts, and little ascots on, and we'd sing like Peggy Lee's, You Give Me Fever or something like that. and then wait some tables, and get dinner.
Yeah. Mix it all up.
Yeah.
And was there any other places that you were playing out there?
Pardon me?
Were there were there other places to play in Kenwood or in Sonoma, or was it mostly Moose Lodge, Vets, Bunny's Country Kitchen?
It was some private parties, some high school stuff, some Battle of the Bands were big ones, They had Battle of the Bands at the Vets Building. There'd be a half a dozen bands from all around, and people would be packed, and then we'd enter that and play that,
And then would bands come from other towns for it too?
Yeah, our drummer had, we had a stout. The Schlitz Bull was our logo, and we had it on the drum head, and then it was in fluorescent paint, right? And then he did his drumsticks in fluorescent paint. And when we did Wipeout, and when he did that drum solo, we turned the lights out, and he had a black light underneath his, where his foot pedal was. It shine up.
Love it.
And we were psychedelic in '63.
Yeah, baby. That's awesome.
We like to be a little bit theatrical, and we like to dress up a little bit and have fun, There weren't a lot of bands in those days in competition. They were looking for... One time we got a gig, and I'll never forget this. We pull up to play this gig, and it's all Mexicans speaking Spanish. And we got up and played one song, and they said, "That's it. Goodbye."
Wow, that was it.
This is not what we're looking for. Somebody had, booked us in there, not sure who now. I can't remember the details, but we were the wrong band.
Gotcha. And was that in Sonoma or somewhere in the county?
No, it was like in Santa Rosa out in but in the sticks out there,
Yeah.
where the chicken fighters are, They were looking for mariachi, and we didn't know any mariachi. We knew Jimmy Reed Blues, got me running.
They got one song, and they're like, "See ya."
Yeah. But yeah. So I've been a musician in Sonoma all my life. I just turned 75. I'm still, I don't do public stuff anymore here. There's not enough money at the clubs to really warrant. Since COVID came, it just knocked the money out of it for everybody.
Yeah, my buddy Joe was saying that.
So I do private parties, and I usually get $4,000 or $5,000 for the band for the night, and that's the kind of money that I need to get the players that I use.
Yep.
And because I use only the best players, it makes my job so much simpler,
Yeah, and you can have a consistency of great music, which is the name of the game.
The idea is to be the shittiest guy in your band. That's the philosophy.
What was that?
You be the shittiest guy in your own band. That's your goal. Because if you are the shittiest guy in your band, that means you're surrounded by greatness,
I kind of love it, and it makes sense.
Yeah, and it works. It really works. Then you just pay attention to the tempo. All the other stuff, you don't have to be telling people what key and this and that and how it, real musicians can read you like a book non-verbally, or a few hand gestures, use the Nashville system like 1 through 12, right? You go 1, 6, 2, 5, 1 is like a common jazz progression, and then you're going to do the bridge. You hold up 4 fingers, you're at the bridge. You want to start all over again, just tap the top of your hat. That means play the head,
so there's a total
there's a hand
total sign language for music.
Sign language for musicians, and it goes back to being spread out on the stage. What jazz guys do is mainly improvise.
Yeah, that's why I like going to see jazz music.
Yeah, you pay respect to the author of the piece by playing it as best to your ability as he wrote it the first time. To tip your hat to him. This is how this song goes. This is the melody to this song.
Right.
Then you take a solo based on that melody and those chord changes. And that's what jazz is, And you come back and restate it, you put the top of your head, tap top of your head, and then you play the head again, and then you're out,
Right, and then it moves on to the next guy.
Yeah, and the next tune, and you pass it around, and sometimes they trade 8s. You take 8 bars, I'll take 8 bars.
Did you learn this? So when you're growing up in Sonoma, like who were obviously your mom, but were there other musicians in town that you remember? And also was Ruggles music store there?
Since I've been 7. So I took lessons for 7 years before I ever picked up a guitar.
Oh,
I used to be the boogie woogie guy at the birthday parties. I'd sit down at the piano and I could play 2 little boogie woogie songs, right?
As a kid, like as a 9-year-old, 10-year-old.
Now, after a couple of years, I figured a couple things out. My mom showed me, and get the girls to sit next to you on the bench. That's the idea. That's the reason I began playing. It's a great call. It has been. I've been in the Merchant Marine I spent over 30 years in the Merchant Marine, and always took my guitar and my music with me, whatever port I've been in. I've been in Hong Kong and Singapore and Japan and Europe and all over, and India and Ceylon, and and they all love music. And when you break out your stuff and start playing, they're going to take you home to mom, and you're going to eat well.
It's great. Guaranteed a
And
meal.
you'll make new friends. It's a great international calling card, whether you speak the language or not.
I got two buddies. One right now is in Norway with his guitar. Picked up a Norway band for a gig, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Other guys traveling around the world with a fiddle, and both of them, it's pretty amazing. They're always popping up in it. Then they'll play wherever. Eventually they play house parties, pubs, whatever.
Sure, that's how you do it, man. That's when I was in my 20s, man, I didn't come. That's where I was. Nickname was International Tom, man. I'm gone.
And you travel out, and then would you always come back to Sonoma?
Yeah, because my family's here.
Yep.
And my life is here. I'm a Sonoman through and through. But I'm, like Jack London, man, sailor on horseback. I like Western swing music, and that's what I've dedicated my life to, is pursuing that music and keeping it alive as best of my ability. And I've, lucked out in timing and just pure luck that I was down there to purchase this church.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity, and it's taken me to another level, in my playing. And we're doing a documentary this year. Next year, there'll be a documentary about the church that you can go see at the movie theater,
Love it.
Yeah, I'm going to around. So that's what I'm doing with I'm 75 now, between 75 and 80.
And still playing, because, you never really retire. I don't feel like musicians ever retire.
Musicians don't. No. I'll quit when Willie quits,
Yeah, for sure. Right.
I had a bluegrass band in the 70s called Sonoma County Line, with Norton Buffalo as the harmonica player.
Oh, all right.
And John Casey from Norman Greenbaum played dobro, and George Kindler from David Bromberg's band played fiddle. His wife played bass, and Dave Shapiro, a Jewish guy, played banjo and mandolin and guitar, all styles. And we played Paul's Saloon and played around. But we were based here in Sonoma,
All right. And in the downtown area, I'm just curious, because I guess I was born in 71. My parents moved there in the early 60s. Ruggles Music Store was there when I was a kid. Was Ruggles always there when you were there?
Yeah, I bought my first guitar from Ruggles,
That's
and bought my strings
awesome.
down there, the old Dan Electros and all that, And I sang, and when I was a kid, I sang a lot of church choir stuff. I was in the choir, and Dan Ruggles was always the choir leader. He led a lot of choirs in town, and all the, and it was just, he promoted music, and same way across the way there, off the Square Arts, those folks over there, they kept local artists alive for years,
At which place?
Off the Square Arts, which is sort of next to where the bakery is, next to Sebastiani Theater.
Oh, it was called Off the Square Arts, and was that a music place too, or?
That at Brundage's at the where next to Mission Hardware, there's a place called Brundage's, which is a coffee house.
I remember that, and I remember Pinelli's, the hardware store on the corner.
Yeah, I used to go in there and play sometimes with Brundage's, and I used to do a thing where I'd go around, and this is when I was drinking quite heavy, and I'd play piano when people got off work. And I'd go in, and where anybody had a piano, I'd go in there and play and get drinks and tips and stuff like that. and I'd hit 2 or 3 places a night.
Wait,
Maybe.
you'd hit two or three different places had pianos, so you would just
Yeah,
hop
yeah.
in and be like, "Hey, I'm going to jump on."
The Wayfarers Inn had a piano. El Dorado Hotel had a piano. A lot of places in those days had pianos in them. Bars.
Yep.
And I'd end up at the Rustic Inn, that old bar out there in Glen Ellen, Jack London's favorite watering hole.
All right.
And I'd play piano up there, and close the night with it.
And the Wayfair is where the town square was, right?
Yeah, right.
And then
That's
the El Dorado
there.
was Ski the bartender at that point?
Yeah. He
I
used
remember
to call me Elvis.
He call you Elvis?
Yeah, he goes, "Hey, Elvis, what's up?"
Ski was a character, huh?
Oh, it was one of my heroes, man. Guys, that's the color in Sonoma that I grew up with.
Yeah, I remember him as a kid, and he was just a live wire.
Yeah, and he's a cartoon character. Was a wonderful man.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
no
Great.
shortage of characters in Sonoma for sure.
Well, quality guys like that who lived right on the plaza, who are a part of the fabric of Sonoma, on a daily basis, And that's the town I grew up in. Everyone knew that I was Freddie Thompson's kid, whether you knew me or not, because I looked just like him, and they could see a mile away. If you're a Bertland, they could see you're a Bertland.
Yeah.
Bunch of them. There's a bunch of them.
And
they all look alike.
Your dad, you said, was born in 24 or in 24?
He was born in the kitchen in the southwest corner of Solano Avenue and Arnold Drive, which was then Grand Avenue.
Okay.
It was dirt still then in those days. And
then what did your mom was playing music, and your dad? What did your dad do?
My mom came down when she was about 6 from Borden, Montana, and then lived here from 6 years old on. Went to school and all that, and her folks had a place out in Shellville, that where the service station is.
Yep, where Ford's, when it was Ford's Cafe.
They owned Ford's Cafe, and they owned that gas pump. It was all one.
All right.
It was Cruel's, and I got a picture of them standing out in front, and the gas pump became that Shell gas station, Bono's.
Yep.
And then Ford's, she had a little diner in there, and my grandmother cooked and my grandfather wrenched on cars. And my mother's job was they had a circular, you twisted the handle and it pumped the gas up into like 10 gallons, and then gravity flow into the car. And her job was to pump the gas up,
That's great.
Oh, yeah.
My dad had the lumber yard out in Shellville. That was our business, the family business. At that point, there was 2 lumber yards, I think. We had the lumber and truss yard. So just as you were coming over the little bump.
There's a lot of lumber yards. There's one on 8th Street, one on Farrell's. There's one on Spain Street in Sonoma here, a plywood factory.
Yep. Yeah. No shortage. Also, I think probably because the train came in, because that's how we would get our lumber. The train would come right up to the back of the property.
Oh yeah, I remember that. We used to go down. We were in high school. We go down to the train trestle down at the end of 8th Street.
Yeah.
And 116, and we'd get a hobo down there to come down to We'd haul him to Weinberg, buy us a case of beer and him a bottle of sweet wine, and then take him back.
Nothing changes. I feel we were doing a version of that.
Put it in the drum case, and then wherever we were playing, we had beer.
Yeah. Well, sounds like a pretty great place. I mean, I loved growing up in Sonoma and hearing that.
My grandfather and my uncle owned the Thomsen's distributor, which was bottle, keg, and can. And we serviced all the bars and keg beer, Falstaff, Pabst Blue Ribbon, and Bergie. And so we were kids. My cousin and I delivered beer at the bar, you know.
What were the bars in town when you were a kid?
Well, it was still Steiner's, and there was a Parkside, and there was...
Parkside, right.
Yeah, you know. That's kind of next to where the church mouth is.
It was next door to Simmons, right? Or like right down.
Yeah. Right down from there. And then, you know, where the Wayfarer's Inn, there was a bar there, and then there was a bar, Basali's, which was down next to the Ice House, which is now Gino and Carlos. And then there was, over there on the corner, the Swiss Hotel.
Yeah.
And then the Eldorado. And that was just on the plaza. And then you get out to Boy Springs, and there was from Mary's Pizza Shack all the way down, you know.
There was a lot of bars down there in the early 70s, late 60s, right?
My favorite one was Junie's Little Nashville.
Junie's Little Nashville. Where was that?
It was right next to Mary's Pizza, the first original Mary's Pizza Shack. Between there and the market. And it was a bar, and Junie had the bar, and Kay Pickle, this local guy, used to sing there. He had a great voice, man. Wrote a song called Sweetest Little Girl. And he was also a baker. And the L&N Donut Shop, he owned that and was, instrumental in making donuts for 20 years here.
Yeah, we had those after church every Sunday.
Yeah, but then he was really a cowboy singer, and he had a great guitar player, and I'd go in there and play and watch him play. He had a beautiful, deep baritone voice, real deal, you know.
And what was his name again?
Kay Pickle.
Kay Pickle, and it was Junie's Nashville.
Junie's Little Nashville.
So cool.
Bar, yeah.
And were there other bars along that strip, right? That you could just kind of...
Yeah, oh yeah, hell yeah. I mean, from, because the Bathouse, everybody was over at the Bathouse, and there was bars all over. There was, what was that one? Across from, which is the Creekside, diner.
Oh, yeah.
Mike and Jody's place down there. That house right across the street there used to be a bar. I can't remember the name of it, but there was bars around because that was the Bathouse, and it was recreational. People would come up from the city in the 30s and 40s and party up here. That's back in Jack London's day,
Right. So there's always booze, but that means there's always a piano and some music and entertainment.
Well, the train would come, and Pop Myers owned a place down where the ferry would come, down on Millrick Road, which is, where the highway stops and you go all the way down to the slough, south.
Yeah.
And there was a hotel down there, and he was like Swiss. And so he played accordion and clarinet, and they had a piano and a little band, and he entertained them as they got off the ferry. That's where the ferry stopped originally. And then the wagons would pick them up there and take them up to wherever they're going,
Gotcha. And is that down near Duhigg Road, like Millrick?
We had a here to Glen Ellen, and they'd stop or at Boy Springs, and they stop Boy Springs, and then the wagon would take them over to where they're going, like a taxi,
So they would hit a couple of stops along the way, heading up to the Springs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, drop people off.
What a great history. It's amazing.
Oh, yeah. The Bathouse was tremendous, man. It was still here when I was growing up,
Now, was the Bathouse where Juanita's was, or was Juanita's next to the Bathouse?
No, the Bathouse was across the street from Creekside Diner.
Oh, okay. So as you're going out...
It's all along the creek. There's nothing but houses there now, and kind of like a duplexes and apartment kind of things,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
Oh, okay. So it was back there.
That used to be an Olympic-sized swimming pool. There was 20 like pinball machines and different things kids could play with, and then there was a bar, and then there was a hot springs and a hot a hot pool, and so it was Olympic-sized swimming pool with a diving board and all that stuff. Then it was the hot tubs, and then there was the gaming, and right next to it was a baseball diamond, and right next to that was a skating rink.
What?
So you could
Had to bring
roller,
it back.
you could play baseball. They had donkey baseball where you hit the ball and then you get on a donkey and ride to first base.
Come on.
No, it's not fucking. I was donkey baseball, man, every year. That was what Sonoma used to be like when I grew up.
That sounds great. So would you just go play there all the time, like just
I
hang
ride
out?
my bike down there, man. My bicycle and me were everywhere. We'd wait until it was flooded like this, and then we'd go down to Shellville to the there was a Coast Guard station down there at Skaggs Island.
Yeah, I remember that.
And they had probably 20 old rowboats that were rotting in the mud. And we'd find one that the bottom was pretty good, and we just cut it out. They were chained together. We'd cut it out. We'd put it on the back of a truck. And we'd haul it up to Glen Ellen to the Rustic Inn. And then we just pulled our way down to Shellville from Glen Ellen.
In the rowboat, just partying along the way.
It took me and Rod Smith or Don or, it was an annual event. Every time it flooded, we did it in inner tubes, and we did it in all, And
how long would it take you to get from up there to down to Shellville?
Oh, we'd like to take a few hours,
That sounds pretty fun.
Yeah, it's an interesting trip to see the topography from the creek.
Right.
And when you're a kid and you're interested in exploring, you're at the top of the peak, you're we're in the creek all day. There was never a problem about safety. It was, get the hell out of here or I'm putting you to work.
Right. I mean, I remember us jumping off the El Verano Bridge when I was a kid.
Yeah, you're not get kidnapped, man. Get out of here. Get down there. I'm going to be at the creek. Okay, fine. And you just go down the creek and find something to do.
Yeah, plenty of stuff to do. Plenty of exploring to do in Sonoma.
Kids need creeks, especially boys. Boys and tom girls, anyway.
I think it's fitting that you're sitting at, telling me this while you're sitting at a bench eating lunch at the creek.
Yeah. Reminds me of my youth,
That's great. Well, I love that you're still playing music, and I just love that there's this history of entertainment music in Sonoma that continues to go back. I love the fact that your mom played piano, too, because that just continues to bring it back,
Big Red, yeah, and then I taught Wendy DeWitt how to play when she was a kid.
Oh, all right.
Wendy DeWitt was raised by a step-parent, Rita Booth, and Rita lived across from the Rustic Inn in downtown Glen Ellen, up above Shone's Market. And Wendy's dad was the only guy in town that worked on foreign cars. He had a shop on Patton Street and Broadway, right next to between the police station and a fire station. And he was the only guy in town that worked on MGs, and that you didn't see foreign cars in those days. And he did a brake job for somebody, and they didn't have any money. And they traded him a spinet piano. And he ended up bringing that spinet piano upstairs to Rita Booth's apartment that she had. It was overlooking downtown Glen Ellen, with on the left was the London Lodge, and directly ahead was the Rustic Inn.
Oh, yeah, the beautiful building that's right there.
Yeah.
Post offices.
And the hotel was next door, and then there was the Three Nations bar was underneath her, next to her. So I would get off a ship and I was making great money then. I could make, up to 8-10 grand a month as a merchant seaman, as a bosun.
Wow.
And yeah, and I'd come home, and I'd always have a coming home party with Rita. Rita was a fantastic Mexican chef, and very famous woman. She had a club called London Side, which was a music club here back in the 70s.
Was that called in Sonoma? It was called London Side?
Yeah, London Side on Warm Springs Road.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and around late 60s, early 70s. And she, would cook. I would have like stuffed salmon Veracruz style or something like that, and invite a dozen friends over. And then we'd play piano and play guitar. And I would show Wendy how to play some little boogie woogie stuff. And I gave her my piano books and gave her a couple lessons. And she just took off and never stopped playing. And now she's the queen of boogie woogie.
Wow. And it started in Sonoma.
Well, yeah, she started in Glen Ellen,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you got to call Wendy up and talk to her. She knows a little bit about Sonoma.
All right. I'm definitely going to give her a ring. So, I mean, you just mentioned a bar out on Warm Springs, and then I remember the Nations bar. Was it called Three Nations? Is that what it was?
Three Nations. Yeah, George's Three Nations. He was a German guy. He had a nice piano in there. He had a piano in there with tacks on it, so it sounded like honky tonk. And then I put rear view mirrors on it so I could see behind me.
Good move.
See who's throwing a beer bottle.
You always want to know what's coming up behind you. I like that move. So you had and then Rita had London. What was it called? London
Lodge.
Oh, that's where London Lodge was. Okay. Yeah, I remember my
London
folks
Lodge
going there.
on Orange Springs Road. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Wow, what a rich history. Love it.
Yeah, there was a lot and she had a lot of, was tons of hippies out there. I mean, she had everybody from, Tibetan flutes to, blues guys to young Christians and all, just all kinds of people would show up out there.
And just all different music acts coming in nightly at the London Lodge?
Yeah, all different music acts, man. You never knew what you were going to get out there. It could be anything. If they're passing through, because she made it clear that she was open. Come on up and stay a while. Don't be a stranger,
Right, so you feed them, put them up, and then play some music all night long.
Yeah, here you go. I actually spent I think I spent about a month sleeping on the pool table and sweeping up.
All right.
One point in my stellar career.
Well, no lack of excitement there, right?
No, I had a wonderful, it's been a great ride, I can't complain.
Well, I love that you're continuing it, obviously. And
I'm also, 34 years sober.
Well, congratulations on that. That's no joke right there. That's some big time.
34 years sober, 24 years with a liver transplant, and 34 years with the booze. So,
well, that is, as they call it, old timers. But that's amazing that you have that.
Yeah,
many
I got old timers disease.
Well,
you quote me on that.
Well, those are the people that keep people coming back, so that's great. I mean, that's really great.
All right, man. Well, enjoy your recording. Let me know what happens with it.
I will, for sure, Tommy. Very nice to meet you via the phone, and I love what you're doing down in Turkey, Texas. That sounds great.
Thanks, man.
Talk to you soon. Take care. All right, well, that was Tommy Thomsen. My name's Joshua Farrell. I like talking to people about making art, music, acting, hospitality, and just about anything. If you like books, I've written a couple. The Sonoma Police Report, A little oddball glimpse of Sonoma Valley from 1980 to 2010 through its very funny police logs from the Index Tribune. And I recently wrote a book called Counterculture, an essential guide for service, about providing, well, you guessed it, great service. Check them out at your local bookstore first, and if you don't have one of those, you can always find them online. Thanks for listening, and come back soon. I should have some more interviews. Bye.
So I gotta ask. So I gotta